sincerely feel honoured being here tonight, and thank you all kindly for taking the time to listen to me. Now, I know that you're all professionals operating in a diverse environment, and I know that you're committed to achieving your own success, but also supporting your business and other people within your business to be as successful as they can be. And what we're going to cover is a quick snapshot of how the head and the heart link together for people and business success. Now, just from talking to you, I know we've got a range of experience in the room. Some people are just beginning their journey of success, and some people, do I turn this on as well? There we go. Is that better? And some people are already very successful in their business and also successful personally. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to talk about a few stories, but I'm also interested in hearing about your stories. So it's an interactive session, so please feel free to put forward your thoughts and comments. So to start talking about the head and the heart, let's first of all talk about what is success. We can't talk about the head and the heart until we understand what success is. So to do that, I'd just like you to think about someone who you think is successful. It could be a family member, it could be yourself, a business person, a sports person, do I dare say it, a politician, anyone who you think is successful, and however you define the word success. And what I'd like you to do is think about what that person does or says, what are their attributes, what are their characteristics. And as you've got some, I'm just going to write them down. So think about someone who is successful and just yell out what it is that makes them successful. What are their attributes, what are their characteristics, what do they say and do? So again, interactive, and they're committed. What else? And remember, this is not a spelling test. What else? They're aware. What else? They're empathetic. What else?
Passionate.
They're passionate. Down the back, what did you say? They're authentic. You're just trying to get difficult words now. Come on, bring them on. What else? They've got leadership. What else? They're generous, they certainly are. What else does your successful person do?
Curious or open to learning.
They're both. They're curious, they're open to learning. What else?
Resilient.
They're resilient. Thank you for that. Anything else about your successful person? This is a very good list. We know that when we talk about success, that people do have to be passionate, committed. They have to be learners, resilient, generous. What we do know is that when we talk about this, we're talking about emotional intelligence. We know that this is what makes success. So when we talk about intelligence, and I'll see if I can get this to work, what we know is that our IQ, the grey matter, our technical skills. Who here has a degree? Hands up. Who here has on-the-job experience? Yeah, it's our technical knowledge. We know it's important, but it's not sufficient. We know from research and experience that 80% of what makes us successful is all around emotional intelligence. All this stuff. And I'm sure you can come up with a whole lot more about what makes your person successful. So 80% is all about the soft skills. So if you have a look again at your own stories and just think at the moment, what are the one or two things that you do that make you successful? You don't have to yell them out, but just take a bit of my favourite word, self-reflection, and think about what makes you successful. Imagine living with me. Imagine being my husband. Self-reflection, thinking and feeling. We'll talk more about that later. And have a look at the list here and think about what is it that if you did better or different would make a difference for you in terms of business and people success. Now there is a little theory. I like to have all pictures, but I'm a psychologist and we are based on research. So I'm not going to go through this definition in detail, but obviously emotional intelligence is all about the capacity to recognise your own feelings and those of others. And then it's about motivating yourself and managing yourself well in your relationships. So there's two things. awareness and action. The first thing is, be aware about what makes you mad, sad and glad. So again, with your own stories, this is the interactive part again. Think about work, and because time is short, what makes you mad in the workplace, or frustrated, or agitated? Yell it out, what is it? Would have heard them all? People, of course they do. That's it. What else makes us agitated or mad or annoyed at work? Distraction. Would say bookkeepers? Bad bookkeepers, people who don't do their job properly. What else? Miscommunication. Inefficiency. People who are not accountable. Part of emotional intelligence is about what makes us mad, sad and glad. The other part is, what is it that makes someone else mad, sad or glad? And God forbid, what is it that we might do that actually upsets other people? And I'll just give you a short story, if I may. I had a manager who I was coaching, and he came up to me and he said, "Oh, I'm just so frustrated, my staff are frustrated, they don't do what I ask, and when they do it, they don't do it to the standard I want. They're not accountable, they don't take responsibility." I'm sure some of you have heard this and been aware of it. And I said to him, I said, "That's interesting. It's interesting that your staff are deliberately not doing what you want." And he looked at me rather weird and he said, "Well, they're not deliberately doing it, they just don't get it, they don't understand." And I said to him, "That's interesting." I said, "What is it that you're doing that may contribute to this?" And I did think for myself, "Oh, am I ever going to come back here again?" Anyway, he looked at me and he said, I'm sure he wanted to say nothing and I'm doing nothing wrong, but he did say, he goes, "Yeah." He said, "I know I waffle and I know that I'm not that assertive and I don't clarify my points." And I said, "That's exactly right. That's the second part about emotional intelligence. What is it that you do that may impact on someone else?" Then we've got the action. One more bit of a slide here, and don't worry about all the jargon, don't you know. Basically, when we talk about emotional intelligence, you've got to talk about the awareness. Yourself, that is, again, self-reflection. So again, you can imagine my conversations with my husband if we've had a bit of a discussion. "Darling, I think you need to be a bit more self-reflective. You need to be a bit more self-aware. How about you take the time to think about what you're doing and saying?" Yeah, I know, can you imagine it? So you should be thanking your partners that you're not married to a psychologist. Is anyone else here married or anything to a psychologist? Yeah. Are you the psychologist? Or? No. What's my husband, what's the other one? You need to talk more. You need to tell me how you're thinking and feeling. Imagine that. And God love my kids. I've started it on them. Anyway, enough about me or my husband. Once we're aware of ourselves, again, we need to be aware of the impact we're having on someone else. Now, it's one thing to say, "Yeah, I know what makes me mad, sad and glad, but you know what? To hell with it, I'm still going to yell at you." The other part is that once we're aware, we then need to take control of our actions. What is it that we do that allows us to stop, think, before we react? And we can only do this once we're aware. Once we are aware of other people, the impact we have, and our own self-management, that is when we can do change management, we can manage growth, we can do inspirational leadership. And another interesting concept, I actually had this diagram up for another lady who I was working with. And she said to me, she said, "You know what, I've done all the right things, our business is growing, we're going through change, I've put in change management workshops, yet no one is still coming on board and taking us for the journey." And I said to her, "Oh, okay." I said, "What do your staff think about it? What are their concerns about the change?" And again, she looked at me and went, "I don't know." And I've gone, "That's exactly right. We can't manage change unless we understand what it is and the impact it's having on our people. We can only do this once we understand the impact on others." And I said to the same lady, I said, "And how are you around the office at the moment?" And she went, "Well, I won't lie, I'm a bit more agitated, I'm a bit more short, I'm a bit more quick to the point." And I said to her again, "Well, once you take stock of your own emotions, then we can actually talk about having a positive impact on others." So my best advice is, before you do a change management workshop, make sure you talk to your staff, find out what their concerns are, and then put your change approach in. How are we going for time? John, all good? Alright, let's just... One last thing. When we talk about emotional intelligence, we don't feel mad, sad or glad first and then think later. We actually think it first, and then the feeling is what drives our behaviour. So if I may, another story of your own, and we'll go on the negative again, against my better judgment. I want you to think about a time you had a discussion, a disagreement with someone. It could be at home, you don't have to tell me about this, just think about it. Think about your disagreement or your discussion, and what were you thinking? So you're annoyed at someone. My husband, poor bugger. I come home again the other day, and one of my pet hates is leaving the dishcloth in the sink. Wet. It's disgusting. So I've come home and I've gone, oh goodness me, there's a dishwasher, there it is again, the sponge is in the sink. What do you think I'm starting to think? What am I thinking? You're useless.
Never listen.
That's it, what is going on? That's it. How many times do I have to tell you? How many times do I have to tell you? So how do you think my behaviour, how do you think I'm going to be feeling to start with? Pretty damn annoyed. And what do you think my behaviour is going to come across as? And I should know better. I could, however, go, that bloody dishcloth is wet again in the sink. Before I have a go at my husband, maybe I should just take a time to think, I wonder what's happened in his day. Gee, I wonder if my 6-year-old has actually chucked it in the sink and it actually hasn't been my husband. Maybe my daughter is trying to be helpful and she has washed down the bench and left it in there dirty. Now, if I start thinking that way, how am I going to feel? A little more calm, a little more cognitively sensible. My behaviour might be, darling, did you leave the sponge in the sink again? Oh, did you, honey? Well, just remember next time. and then, I know. And then, sorry, I shouldn't. One last story. Whose partner snores? Hands up if your partner snores. Yes, it drives you insane. Here's our conversation last night after I went to bed early to get to sleep before he comes to bed. And about 1 o'clock, I hear this great big snore. So of course, you can imagine my reaction. How many times do I have to tell you to lie on your side, lie on your stomach, breathe through your mouth? You're doing this deliberately. If you want me not to be cranky in the morning, then how about you sleep and stop snoring? You're going to have to go to another bedroom. Well, that's all sensible, isn't it? Or I could, in the middle of the night, go, maybe we should discuss this in the morning so I don't yell at my husband at night, because not only does that wake everybody up, it also wakes up everyone in the household. But again, the next morning, you need to talk more and talk about your thinking and feeling. Again, my poor husband. But the important point about this is that the way we think impacts on the way we feel in our behaviour. We can't change the event. I can't change the event that my staff don't take accountability or responsibility at that stage. All we can change is the way we think about it. If you think about it in the negative, my bloody staff, they're hopeless, they're doing this deliberately, how many times they have to be told, you're going to feel negative and your behaviour is going to come out that way. If you think more rationally, then yes, your behaviour will come out that way. And the one thing we know from emotional intelligence, if we take stock of our emotions, we do this, it will lead to business and people's success. One last slide, nearly there. This is another checklist for you. Just ask yourself, we know that 80 to 90% of excellent leadership comes from emotional intelligence. Ask yourself, are you able to recognise your own moods? What makes you mad, sad and glad? Are you able to control your impulses? Do you have some sort of self-control? Do you pursue your goals with energy, reboundability, resilience and passion and persistence? Do you understand what may make other people mad, sad or glad and what you do to make them? And only then will you be able to have the relationship management side. So the final slide is, just take a moment for your own stories again. Excuse my little icon there, it's about as good as I can get. Just think about where or how you can apply this knowledge, this quick snapshot, back into the workplace. You don't have to yell it out, you can talk to the person beside you, but let me tell you, think about things in the positive rather than the negative. No matter how much someone annoys you at work, try and think rationally. Be aware, yes, be aware of yourself, the impact you have on others, then take stock of your emotions, and then you'll get effective relationship management.